Everyone, those who can open your cameras, kindly turn them on. And also it was given to my attention that some of your classmates attended the other schedule because some of them will be attending uh, something else during your original time, or they won't be able to attend or not able to attend in our original time. So that is why some of them attended earlier, so 1 to 2. And that is why we are this few in here. Okay. So, but still, nothing has changed. Okay. May I just ask for present as of now? So once I call your name, kindly say present. Alejandre, Kimerwin,
Present.
Nathan is not yet here, I think. Altea,
Present.
Cabral, Cyril, not here. Gian, Castor,
Present.
Gabriel,
Present.
Leonard,
Present.
Richie,
Present.
Hernandez Faith,
Present.
Hernandez Marinel,
Present.
Ilagan, Meru Sofia,
Present.
Ilagan Rina,
Present.
JE,
Present.
Camila,
Present.
Angela Julia,
Present.
Denzel,
Present.
oh hi Aaron, not here. Johannes,
Present.
Benedict,
Present.
Bernadette, then Porcelo is he attended earlier, and John C.
Present.
Okay, there. So far we have 2 absents, and some of your classmates already attended. Okay. So first, everyone, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Teacher.
Okay. So for our meeting today, this is our official start of discussions. Okay. So without further ado, let's start already with our lesson. Okay, so for those who can open their Visual Studio, okay, I myself will be opening it at the same time. So if you can open your Visual Studio, kindly open it now. And then there, so Aaron is here. Okay, there. So for our lesson 1, this is going to be the checkbox and radio button controls. Okay, so may I ask first? So in your grade 9, right? So you were able to tackle HTML, correct? Okay, so in HTML, there is actually similar control like the checkbox and radio button controls, correct? Okay, so in there, we are applying the use of the checkbox and the radio button controls. Okay, so in terms of creating a form, there is not much of a difference with HTML or the controls of HTML and the controls of uh, VB Studio or Visual Basic Form Designer. Okay, it's pretty much the same. So in HTML, we're using labels, text boxes, buttons. Okay, so it's similar to the Visual Basic form controls. Okay, so with the use of checkboxes and radio buttons, so what is their difference to what you can recall? Yes, John C.
Feature checkboxes are used to choose multiple options, while radio button are chosen for only one option.
Okay, so for the checkboxes, we are using checkboxes if ever there are multiple answers from different options. Okay, so what is our example for our checkbox? So one example is, for example, you are trying to order food. Okay, so one of the most convenient applications during the pandemic is Food Panda, correct? So Food Panda, there are multiple options there. So multiple options meaning we can select multiple options, and we can just select. We can select more than one. Okay, so there are a lot of options, and then we can select more than one. So for example, you can select a meal, and then another solo order, and then separate drink. Okay, and so on. Okay, so with that, we use checkboxes. And for the radio buttons, okay, so what can you recall on the radio buttons again? Yes, PG. Okay.
Read about that. It's to be used when we are to choose only one from a number of options. That's all.
Okay, so with the radio button, we can just select one. Okay, there can only be one. Okay, one answer. Okay, so what example do we have for a radio button? For example, uh, a type of exam, which is true or false. Okay, so we can just select one answer, or there can only be one answer for either true or false. Also applicable for multiple choices. Okay, multiple choices, multiple options, but there should only be one answer. So what else? What else can you think of? Yes, Rina.
Sure, it can also be in selecting the gender, if male or female. Sure, that's all.
Okay, there. So when you're going to select a gender, so it can only be either male or female. Okay, you cannot be both at the same time. Okay, what else? Yes, JE.
Sure, I think also true or false if you're choosing between those two.
Okay, can be true or false. There's only one answer. What else? Yes, Denzel.
It can also be used for selecting sizes. That's all.
There. So selecting shirt sizes or whatever clothes you're going to order. So one example is medium, XL, large, small, extra small. Okay. So if it's only just for you, you can just select one size for one uh, shirt or clothes. Okay. So anything else? Yes, Gabriel.
Here for the age. That's all.
Okay. Also for the age. Okay. So you can just select one answer for your age. Okay. So that is the function of our checkboxes and radio button controls. Okay. So before we go on ahead to our discussion, so first let's have a review of our previous activities. So if you can still remember, we had, or I posted the activities already, right, when I announced it during the class. So, or right after I gave this activity during the class and then explained it to you. So in name 23, okay, so the program for this one is show result and the message box from a programmed formula. So there's already a pre-programmed formula inside the button of show result. Okay, so if you can still remember, in the form design, we only have the form in the form design, we only have the button which says for show result. Okay, and from that, once we press the show result, what will appear or what should appear? Yes, Aaron.
Sure, a message box that contains the sentence total is 6. That's all.
Okay, so the output, or once we click the show result button, there will be a message box that contains the sum of the pre-programmed formula inside inside the code of our button. And as you can see in the example, we have multiple variables. Okay, so in this case, is it possible to only have one declaration of variable? Yes, Camila.
Yes, teacher, since we'll be using the same data type, which is integer. That's all.
Okay, correct. So in this case, we can just have one declaration because the variables A, B, C, and then the sum, all of them will have the same data type, which is the integer. Okay, so if you have any other variables that will be declared, but it is still the same type or same data type, you can just combine them together into one declaration, separating with a comma or separated by a comma. Okay, next one. So in the name 24 or your activity 24, we have this as your output or conditions. Okay, so what is our structure here, or what structure did we use in order to perform this program? Yes, John C.
Teacher, we use the structure if then else if then.
Okay, so we use the if then else if else. Okay, so that was the structure that we used here. Okay, so teacher, why is it that we use if then else if structure in here and not case? Okay, so why? Because again, if you are going to look at our conditions, so some conditions can be met and some can be not. Okay, let's say for example, we have we are using the select case. Okay, so for the select case, again, I said it multiple times. The select case, it will just look directly at one condition without considering if the other conditions are being met. Okay, it will go straight to that condition. So for example, z is equals to 4. So it will not consider looking at the other conditions aside from z equals to 4. So it is possible that z is equals to 4, but still this condition can be met. Okay, so there are instances like that, but the select case could not uh, detect it or cannot recognize it. Okay, so that is why we are using the if then else if, because if then else if looks at the first condition. Is it met? Not. Next condition, is it met? If not, then it will go on and on. Looking at them one by one, making sure that nothing else is being met or only one condition is being met in here. Okay, and then for the name 25 activity, should show the result. Either you've got it, blank is the luckiest number or the lucky number, or sorry, please try again. So our output in here is similar from this previous one. So it is asking for the user input or a number. And then once we press the show result, a message box will appear. And then from there, the output will either be you got it, blank is the lucky number, or sorry, please try again. So from this program, what was our lucky number? Yes, Gian.
Teacher, the lucky number was number 3. So that's all.
Okay, so the lucky number was 3. And in this case, from our program, what structure did we use? Yes, Faith.
Teacher, we use the if then else statement. That's all.
Again.
We use the if then else statement. That's all.
Okay, so the structure that we used in here is if then else. Okay, so because there are only 2 possible outputs. Okay, thank you. And okay, and we used it because if, then the condition, then the output. So we have one output. So if this condition was not met, we have the else and then the other output. Okay, so we are using the else if we have more than one output. So if it's just one, we are going to use if then only. Okay, but if there's going to be more than one output, so meaning 2 and above, so we are going to use else, and in some cases the else if. Okay, so that is our activity last time. So hopefully hopefully no one got late or you passed it right on time, but still it was I'm still accepting it even though it's late. But still consider that there's going to be a deduction there. So with that, so that was our 3 activities. Let's proceed to our discussion, which is the check boxes and control and radio button controls. Okay, so in this discussion, we're going to differentiate the checkbox from the radio button control, which I think we already did. Next is to identify the important control syntax in Visual Basic. So there is a certain syntax that we're going to follow, especially when it comes to checkboxes and radio buttons. Next is to follow the control structures and reserve keywords. Okay, so there are new keywords that we're going to use and create a VB form design with appropriate set of codes. Okay, so with that, first topic is the checkbox. So the checkbox, it permits the user to choose one or more items by checking the box or boxes concerned. Okay, so again, checkbox, one or more items. Okay, one or more items, meaning there are multiple answers that can be submitted. The checkboxes are excellent controls for displaying true or false or yes or no values. Okay, so that is what they are giving off. So a value of true or false or yes or no. So that is indicating the checked or unchecked. Okay, so if it is checked, so that is a true value. If it is not, so that is a false value. So clicking the checkbox control toggles it between checked and unchecked. So what does it mean? So if this is our checkbox, this is checked, of course, it is checked. And if it is not, it is unchecked. There. Okay, so keep that in mind as of now. And with that, let's proceed to this one. Okay, so already we're going to have a new activity. So this new activity is going to be named 6. Okay, so we're going to create a new project in Visual Basic and design a user interface that coincides with the following code. Okay, so first we will have our output like this. So pop and country. So, oh wait, sorry. There. So our output or the design, form design is going to be pop, country, and then the button submit. Okay, so let's try it first here. So we're going to have a button and a checkbox. Okay, so with these two are two different song genres. Okay. And what it said there is okay. So what says here is that we are going to select either of the two or both, either one of the two or both, or neither one of them. Okay, and with each selection, there is going to be different outputs. So we already have our design, so which is pop and country. And then this is our code. So take note of this output. Okay, so that later on you are going to apply this. And then this is our code. Okay, so it is going to be if checkbox 1 dot checked is equals to true and Okay, so while I am doing this, all of you take note of the codes already. Okay, so is everyone done copying the code? Okay, so with that, let me just share this one. Okay, so in here, I already created our form design. Okay, so in here we have the checkbox option, pop, and country. So we have two options and we have the submit button. Okay, and with that, we have the code. Okay, so in here, I have here checkbox 1 that checked. Okay, so as you can see, in here, okay, so checkbox 1 that checked, that is the value of our checkbox. So that again, the value of our checkbox can either be checked or unchecked. Okay, so checkbox 1 that check, so it is determining if the checkbox 1 is checked equals true. Okay, so is the checkbox 1 checked? So if it is true and the checkbox 2 is that check is also checked, the value here is true. So there will be a certain output. Okay, so if we are going to use the, or if we're going to look at our checkboxes, okay, so most of them will be either okay, this one. So the checkbox 1 or a checkbox can either be checkbox 1 that check true or false. Okay, so as you can see, it is having a Boolean output. Okay, so again, what is Boolean? Okay, still remember what is a Boolean? Yes, Gian.
Teacher, it is a non-numerical. It is a non-numerical form that only answers true or false questions. Sure, that's all.
Okay, there. So it is a non-numeric data type. Okay, and it is only asking if it is true or false. So in this case, the checkbox 1 that checked, it is serving as or functioning as a Boolean, because if it is determining if the value is true or false. So checkbox 1 that checked, so if it is looking if it is checked. So true, it is checked, and false, it is not checked. Okay, so is that clear? Okay, so with that, we have multiple conditions here saying, okay, so in this case, checkbox 1 that check, is it true or false? So it is true in here. And then checkbox 2. So checkbox 1 that check, that is true. Checkbox 2 that check, that is also true. Meaning those two conditions, they are both true. Okay, and then they will have a certain output. So pop and country are your favorite types of music because pop and country, they are just the two options and both checkboxes are checked. Okay, so those two checkboxes, they are corresponding to the two options. Okay, and the next one, checkbox 1 that check, that is false, and checkbox 2 that check is also false. So what does it mean? So it will say that you don't have any favorite types of music. So why? Because the checkbox 1 that check, is it checked? It's false, meaning it is not checked. And checkbox 2 that check, is also false. So meaning that is also not checked. So meaning the two options in our form, both of them were not checked, meaning you don't have any favorite types of music. And then the next one, checkbox one that check, that is true, meaning the first option was selected. And checkbox two that check equals false, meaning one or the next option was not selected. So meaning pop is your only favorite type of music since pop corresponds to checkbox one. And at the last one, that is pretty much the same, just vice versa. So checkbox one, the check, that is false. And checkbox two, the check is true. So country corresponds to the checkbox two. That's why country is your only favorite type of music. So once I run this, there, so that you can see it. So I check pop. So once I check pop, it will check here. So checkbox one, that check, that is true. So there is a possibility that this will appear. Okay, so once I submit this, there, pop is your only favorite type of music. So because checkbox one that checked is the only option that was checked. But once I click this, there, pop and country are your favorite types of music. Okay, so can everyone understand this? Okay, are there any questions? Clarifications? None? Okay, so let's proceed to the next one. Okay, make sure that you took notes of the codes, okay? Okay, so moving on. Checkboxes work independently, okay, from one another. Okay, again, checkboxes work independently from one another. Okay, so they do not rely if other checkboxes are selected or not. Okay, so what matters if their own checkbox is selected or checked. For example, if there are 5 checkboxes in the form, each one can be checked or unchecked in any combination. Okay, so if you have 5, for example, 5, you check 3. Okay, so it can either be 3 consecutive options or 3 alternating options and whatsoever. Okay, so they do not rely if the other options are being selected. Okay, unlike radio buttons. Okay, so next one we have here is another activity. Okay, so this another activity, what will be done here? So create a new project in Visual Basic. Add 2 labels, a text box. So 2 labels pertains to this one. 1, 2, those are your 2 labels. A text box. So this is the text box. 2 buttons and 6 checkboxes on the form. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so redesign the form as shown in here. Okay, so take note of the output. You may screenshot this. Okay, so if you already screenshot, okay, so let's proceed. So as you can see here, it is working pretty much similar to ordering systems, right? So you select one option from the menu and all of them will be added up together or summed up together once I click compute. Okay, so what will happen here in this case? Okay, so we have different parts of the codes here. So the first part is declaration of our independence. No, declaration of the variables. Okay, so the variables, as you can see here, we are not using dim. We're not using dim. Instead, we're using const. Okay, so what does const mean? Anyone? You still remember? Yes, Aaron.
Here, this is constant and it means that the value will not change. That's all.
Okay, so a constant, similar as math or in mathematics, a constant variable will not change its value. Okay, so as you can see here, we use const instead of dim, and const and then the variable as integer, and then that right from there we already declared a variable, a value to the variable. We assigned already a value to the variable, which is 350 to CHS, 500 to WD, 500 to multimedia. Okay, so what you might say that, teacher, since all of them are integers, so why not declare them all together as one, separating them by a comma? Okay, so but as you can see again in here, we are assigning them their different values or their own values. So even though that they have the same value here, so 500 and 500, so it is still going to be assigned to a different variable. So it is important to assign them one by one if we're going to use constant. So to prevent any overlapping of the values, or we can't determine if that value is assigned to which variable. Okay, so we are declaring it as this, and we use them for the sum, because the sum in this case will not have a fixed value, so it will depend highly on the outcome of which is checked or not. So how will we do that? As you can see here, we are not using an if then else if else structure. Okay, so what are we using? We are just using an if then. Okay, so this is a set of if then, if then, if then, okay, and so on. Okay, all of them are separated. Okay, why? Because for each condition, it is going to determine if it is going to add the variable to the sum total. And I think this is your first time encountering this symbol. Okay, the plus equals symbol. Okay, so we use this symbol, or we use this mathematical operator if we want to add the variable to the total. Okay, so the total is going to be the sum, and the ones that is going to be added is the CHS. In this case, the CHS has the value of 350. So 350 will be added to the sum. So consider it this way. So look at it this way. So we have the sum, that is our variable or integer variable. So this will serve as our sum total, which this will add it to. Okay, so look at this. So first condition, if checkbox 1 that check is true, so meaning the checkbox 1 was selected, the CHS. So it will be added in here. So CHS will be added into the sum. Okay, and then the next option, checkbox 2 that check. So let's say that this is not checked or not selected. It will not add to this, to our sum. Instead, it will go to the next option. So if checkbox 3 the check is true, so let's say that this is true, it will add another one. So multimedia will be added to the sum. Okay, and so on. So let's say that this is also added. So we add prog, and this is not, and this is added. So it will add also the AC. Okay, and it will add them up together to the sum. Okay, that is our sum there. And the total will be computed from the values of CHS, multimedia, programming, and AC. Okay, so is that clear? Are you getting all of this? Any questions? None? Okay, so copy this first, and I will try this myself. We'll still have time. Okay, so copy this first. I will apply the code myself to show you later on. Okay, so is everyone done taking notes of the code? Okay, so let me just share this one. Okay, so in here, I already created the code. And in here, this one should be clear. Here. So in the design, we have multiple checkboxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 options in our text boxes or our checkboxes. And then in our code, so we have this already. So I have already discussed this to you. Okay, so let's run it. Okay, so in here we have multiple options. So CHS, that should be 350 plus 550 plus 500. So add that up. So that's 900, 1, 4. Okay, so 1,400 should be the total. So submit there. So 1,400. Once I click this, there. It will recompute. And the total should be there, 2,750. Okay, so each checkbox that I select, once I click the submit, it will add only those who are selected. So going back to our code, only those selected or with the value of true will be added to the sum. Okay, and sum.toString. So the sum in this case is just an integer and it is still hidden in this case. Okay, so because we're storing up the values. So in order to make this sum appear, so we have to convert it to string. Okay, so because if I remove this one, so probably it will have the same effect. Submit. Okay, so it is still integer. Okay, so what is the purpose of toString? So because we declared sum as an integer. Okay, so we declared the sum as an integer, meaning it will be a numeric form of data type. But if we add that to string, so the sum will be converted into a string. Okay, so is that clear? And for the next code, okay, so this one is just to uncheck all of the options there. So if I go back, wait. Okay, so this is the applied code. So checkbox 1, the check is false. Okay, so basically what this is doing is it is making all of the other checkboxes unchecked because the value is already false. Or we're making it false, meaning if it is checked equals true, so it will make it false. So meaning it will not be checked. And then text box 1 that clears the text box. If I do this, submit there, 1550, clear there. So the form just resets. Okay, so is that clear? You took notes of the codes. Okay, one final one. You may just screenshot this. Okay, so I already discussed this one. Okay, radio buttons. So radio buttons provide users a selection of items, particularly when the user is only allowed to select one option. Okay, so if you're going to just have one option, you're going to use radio button. So radio button is also known as the option button. These are restricted to the container in which they are contained. So what does that mean? So if they are put together inside a group box, so inside that group box, only one radio button is going to be selected. But if you make another group box, so regardless of there is already a selected one in the other one, so if it is in another group box, so it will accept another answer there. Okay, so it means only one radio button can be selected at a time per container. So it is automatically deselected when another radio button in the same container is selected. Okay, so let's have this as an example. Okay, not example, this is your next activity. So take a screenshot of the output. Okay, while I make a quick options here. Okay, so if you're done with this one, okay, take note of this code. Okay, so are you done with this one? Okay, so let me just share quickly this output. Okay, so in here I have our sample output or your activity output. So two options, male, then female. Then looking at the code, so you can see it's just checking only one radio button. Okay, so it is asking if radio button 1 is checked. So if it is true, so radio button 1 is checked, meaning we selected male. So if this is true, the output would be you are male. Else, you are female. So why? Because if we select the first one, so you are going to be male. But since we are using radio button, if that first one was not selected, automatically the other one is the one selected. Okay, so let's run this quickly. Okay, so this one, check male. But if I check the female, automatically the male radio button is not checked or unchecked. So a radio button is automatically replaced, or the radio button function this in here automatically in our form. So automatically it will uncheck, or it will determine if only one answer should be displayed or selected. Okay, so once I press submit, so you are female. Okay, so what does it mean when it said in a group? Okay, so let's put a group box in here. And we transfer this here. Oh wait, we're already time. Okay, this does not matter that much. Okay, so it will not be included in your activity, but still that is the idea. Okay, so any questions? Anyone? Okay, so make sure you took note of the codes. And if there are no more questions, so that would be all for today, everyone. So goodbye.
See you and thank you,
Thank you,
teacher.
teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, goodbye.